Right now, as you watch this, a virus is living inside your body. Not a virus you caught last winter, not one that gave you a fever, one that entered you years ago, quietly merged with your immune cells, and has been waiting there ever since. Doctors don't routinely test for it. Most people never know it's there. But in the last 3 years, researchers at Harvard, Stanford, and the NIH have discovered that this single virus may be responsible for triggering at least 7 different cancers, and one of the most devastating neurological diseases on the planet. This is the story of the Epstein-Barr virus, and the chances that it's already inside you are about 67 in 100. Let's go back to the beginning. Epstein-Barr Virus, or EBV, was first discovered in 1964 by 2 British scientists studying tumors in African children. They found a virus hiding inside cancer cells, not sitting on top of them, inside them, merged with the cell's own DNA. Here's the part most people don't know. If you've ever had mononucleosis, what Americans call mono, or what Australians and the British call the kissing disease, you've already had EBV. And here's the part that should stop you cold. Once EBV enters your body, it never fully leaves. Your immune system beats back the initial infection. Your fever breaks. You feel better. But the virus retreats, not out of your body. It retreats into a specific type of white blood cell called a B cell. It goes dormant. It becomes what scientists call latent. And it can stay latent for the rest of your life. Waking up, retreating, watching, and waiting. Think of your immune system as one of the most sophisticated security systems ever built. It can detect foreign invaders within hours, tag them for destruction, and remember them for decades. So how does EBV hide from it? Here's where it gets extraordinary. EBV infects your B cells, and B cells are part of your immune system itself. This is like a burglar breaking into your home, then disguising himself as a security guard. Your alarm system scans him. He matches the uniform. He gets waved through. Once inside the B cell, EBV shuts down almost all of its own genes. It goes nearly silent. It stops producing the proteins that your immune system would normally recognize as foreign. Scientists call this latency stage 0. The virus is there, it's real, it's alive, but it's producing almost no signals. Standard blood tests, the ones your doctor runs, don't pick it up in this state. Now, here's the part that keeps virologists up at night. Every time that B cell divides, every time your body makes a copy of it, EBV copies itself too. It multiplies silently, piggybacking on your own cellular reproduction for decades, without you knowing. But what happens when the truce breaks? When you get sick, when you are exhausted, when chronic stress floods your system with cortisol for months, when you go through grief or burnout or a bad infection, EBV wakes up. Scientists call this reactivation. And during reactivation, the virus begins multiplying again inside those same B cells. And it triggers a new wave of immune dysfunction. One 2020 study published in PNAS linked EBV reactivation to COVID-19 severity. Patients with active EBV reactivation had dramatically worse outcomes than those without. The same virus that gave you mono at 16 was now making a deadly infection even deadlier. Not as a rare side effect, not in edge cases. EBV has been formally classified by the World Health Organization as a Group 1 carcinogen, definitive, confirmed, beyond doubt cause of cancer in humans. It is directly linked to at least 7 distinct cancers. Burkitt's lymphoma, Hodgkin's lymphoma, nasopharyngeal carcinoma, gastric cancer, that is stomach cancer, which kills over 700,000 people every year. Post-transplant lymphoma, NKT cell lymphoma, and certain breast cancers. Let that sink in. 7 cancers, linked to one virus. A virus that is inside the overwhelming majority of adults watching this right now. And yet, when was the last time your doctor tested you for EBV antibody levels? When was the last time anyone warned you about this? In January 2022, a team at Harvard Medical School published what many neurologists called one of the most important findings in MS research history. Using data from 10 million US military personnel tracked over 20 years, they found that EBV infection increased the risk of developing multiple sclerosis by a factor of 32. 32 times. And among soldiers who had 0 EBV antibodies before infection, those who contracted EBV later developed MS at rates that made researchers stop and stare at their own data. The lead author said, this was the closest thing to proof that a single virus is the leading trigger of MS. Multiple sclerosis affects nearly 3 million people globally. It destroys lives, slowly, relentlessly. And EBV may be the trigger the entire medical world missed for 60 years. As millions of people around the world struggled with long COVID, fatigue, brain fog, symptoms that would not go away months after infection cleared, researchers at Yale, UCSF, and other institutions found something striking. In a significant portion of long COVID patients, EBV had reactivated. The immune disruption from SARS-CoV-2 had been enough to break that fragile truce, to wake the sleeping virus. And now patients were fighting 2 enemies at once, and most of them did not even know it. One study published in the journal Pathogens in 2022 found detectable EBV reactivation in over 66% of long COVID patients they tested, over 2/3. And when those patients were treated in ways that targeted EBV activity, a significant number of them began to recover. But MS and long COVID are not the end of the story. Researchers have found compelling links between EBV and several major autoimmune diseases: lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, Sjogren's syndrome. The hypothesis, supported by growing molecular evidence, is that EBV teaches the immune system to misfire. It tricks the body into attacking itself, a process called molecular mimicry, where the virus proteins look so similar to the body's own proteins. The immune system gets confused and starts shooting at the wrong target. This single mechanism, molecular mimicry, may explain why so many autoimmune diseases seem to appear after a period of viral infection or extreme stress. EBV may have been the hidden hand behind conditions that have baffled medicine for decades. So here is the question you are probably asking right now. If EBV causes cancer, if it triggers MS, if it fuels autoimmune disease, if it makes COVID worse, and if it is inside virtually every adult on Earth, why is nobody talking about it? Why is this not front-page news every single week? Part of the answer is money. EBV is one of the most neglected areas of virology research, not because scientists do not care, but because there is no billion-dollar approved drug for it. There is no market-ready vaccine. Without a commercial product attached to a disease, the disease does not get famous. But that is changing. In 2023, Moderna began phase 1 human trials of an mRNA vaccine specifically targeting EBV. If successful, it could become one of the most consequential vaccines ever created. First, know whether EBV has reactivated in you. A simple blood test called the EBV VCAIGM and EADIGG panel can tell your doctor whether the virus is dormant or actively replicating. Most general practitioners do not order this test routinely. You have to specifically ask for it, especially if you are dealing with unexplained fatigue, recurrent throat infections, or immune problems that no one can explain. Second, your immune system is the only real weapon against EBV, and the things that weaken it are exactly what reactivates this virus. Chronic sleep deprivation, less than 6 hours consistently, reduces natural killer cell activity by up to 70%. These are the exact cells that keep EBV suppressed. Chronic psychological stress raises cortisol, which directly suppresses immune surveillance. And diets high in ultra-processed food alter the gut microbiome in ways that reduce immune responsiveness. Third, emerging treatments. Valacyclovir, an antiviral already approved for herpes, has shown in some studies to reduce EBV viral load during reactivation. Researchers at Harvard and Stanford are actively investigating EBV-targeted antivirals. And the mRNA technology that transformed the COVID response is now being aimed directly at EBV. A working EBV vaccine could reduce MS incidence, reduce certain cancer rates, and help millions living with autoimmune disease. Here is what makes EBV philosophically staggering. We have spent decades and billions of dollars trying to understand cancer, MS, and autoimmune disease as if they were entirely separate problems. Separate causes, separate treatments, separate funding streams. But what if they are not separate? What if they all have a common thread? A single ancient virus, sitting quietly in the background, reactivating when we are weak, exploiting every gap in our defenses. This is not science fiction. This is peer-reviewed, published, replicated science. Dr. William Robinson of Stanford has publicly argued that EBV may be the single most important environmental trigger for autoimmune disease in humans. Dr. Alberto Ascherio's MS research, published in Science magazine, made international headlines in 2022. These are not fringe voices. These are the most credentialed researchers in the world, and they are all pointing at the same virus. There is something deeply unsettling about the idea that a virus entered your body when you were too young to even remember it, that it has been living inside your immune cells ever since, that every period of extreme stress in your life may have quietly woken it up, and that the science connecting it to some of the most devastating diseases on Earth is only now being taken seriously, 60 years after it was first discovered. What we do know, and what the science is increasingly confirming, is that this is not a story about inevitable doom. It is a story about information, about what happens when millions of people are kept in the dark about a virus that affects virtually everyone. You now know. Share this, because knowledge, in this case, may genuinely be protection.